All right, friends. So today we're going to be creating an abstract landscape. Now, though that was a long term right there, abstract means something that is not easily recognizable, something that we don't automatically identify when we look at it. And a landscape is a picture of outdoor scene. It could be any type of scene, from a mountainous scene to a Piedmont scene to a beach scene. So a landscape typically doesn't lend itself to abstract art, but we're going to combine the two by adding in a series of patterns using lines and shapes. So I have a piece of paper here turned horizontally. This is also called landscape view. So it's turned so I can see the entire paper. Now, we drew some landscapes last year when we learned about our friend, the artist Hokusai. So we're going to be drawing landscapes this year. We want to start with our foreground. So in my foreground, I'm going to draw a hill. Okay. So that's one hill. From there, I'm going to draw a second hill that starts about right there and it goes up. So there is now two hills. Okay. Now I could keep making those. Maybe I can make a hill here. And then maybe, just maybe, there is a stream that comes down from my hill into my foreground from the background. Okay. Now, there is no right or wrong to your landscape. It can look however you like it to look. Here, I'm going to draw a tree. Maybe this tree, I'm going to add my V's and my Y's like we talked about before. And then maybe I close it here. Then I put a series of leaves around it. So there's one tree. Maybe there is another tree that lives here. Maybe this one is bigger. Maybe this tree is really big. Now, Mr. Steele is using a Sharpie so that you can see it better. But I would, if I had a pencil, ideally erase any lines I don't need. So I don't need that line cutting through my tree. But because I'm using a Sharpie, I'm just going to leave it there. Again, drawing some trees going out. They're just V's and Y's. And then I'm going to a jagged line to close it. You do not want to color anything in because we're going to be adding our lines to it soon. Way back here, I'm going to do some smaller trees that maybe appear to be further away, giving your picture some depth. Maybe I can do an evergreen tree because why not? It's just zigzag lines. Again, giving our trees some, our landscape some depth. Maybe there's a nice sun here behind it. And maybe I want to end it with some sun rays. So this is one example of a landscape. I'm going to draw a few different examples of landscapes so that you can see that this can go any direction you want it to be. It does not have to be the same landscape that I created because we see landscapes everywhere. All right. So that's one. I'm gonna put that off to the side. Well, actually, I'm just gonna flip it over just so we can save on paper, right? And so I'm going to now draw a different landscape on the opposite side, something different. Maybe this landscape. I start with a wavy line. Okay. And then maybe I go and I throw in a straight horizontal line using my ruler, holding my ruler nice and tight to the paper so that it doesn't shift as I draw. And I'm going to draw from one side, sliding my ruler right up against that, or my pencil right up against that ruler. Okay. Now maybe back here I want to do a hill. Maybe before I draw my next hill, I'm gonna draw a tree. And when I draw this tree, you'll guess exactly where I am. Oh, who guessed where I am? You're right. I'm drawing the beach. This is a beach landscape. The landscapes can be in different parts of the world. They can be snowy landscapes. They can have lots of rocks around and mountains. They could be almost anything. So I'm now going to draw another hill. I'm going to draw that right behind there. And why not? We can draw another sunset. Maybe this one is here. And again, I'm going to use my ruler to draw this. And if I'm going too fast, you can pause me, rewind me, fast forward me, mute me, whatever you do to enjoy your art. All right. Now, here I might draw a small palm tree just to again give myself some depth. So there is my beach scene. Again, I'm going to put this off to the side because we're not done with them. All right. And I'm going to draw one more just so that we have a nice variety of things to draw. Maybe this time I start with a horizon line, which is the line that separates the ground from the sky. And I go across my paper. Again, don't let that ruler move while you're working. Hold that ruler very tight to your paper. Put all your muscle on it. If that means you need to stand up and put your muscle and put your weight on it, then you do that. Keep it from shifting on you. Maybe in this landscape we have a lake. Maybe I do a lake. And maybe that lake is here. Very wavy. Okay? Kind of looks like a puddle. And then maybe there are, you guessed it, some hills. I like hills. They give, they make it very easy to make depth on our paper. But maybe we're in a mountainous climate. So maybe we have big tall mountains that are soaring far away. And maybe the tops of them are covered with snow. Now you can always look up pictures of landscapes online to see if you can find some landscapes to draw. You want to keep them very simple. Don't try to draw them too complex. But fill up your paper. Here's an evergreen tree sitting on top of this hill. Maybe I'll do another evergreen tree. Maybe it's sitting right here. All right. And then maybe this time, instead of putting my sun front and center as a maybe I draw it in the sky. So now my sun is not really big as it was in the other landscapes, but it is now further away. So again, a mountainous scene, a beach scene, a Piedmont scene. Now, let's go to the Piedmont scene. You can kind of see my Sharpie behind it a little bit, so try to ignore the Sharpie if you can. And I'm going to now fill in each section with a different design or pattern, okay, to make this abstract. Now, we have been talking about patterns and designs since kindergarten. So now we want to use them in a way that complements our picture. So in here, I may decide I want to do a series of zigzag lines. All right. And maybe beside it, because in this pattern, you can use shapes in combination with your lines. I may decide to do a broken implied line. And then maybe there are some, maybe I do some green stripes here. Now, if you want to, because this is a sun, maybe you don't want to use any of the darker colors in your sun rays. Maybe you just want to alternate between the warmer colors. Maybe in this side, I am going to do a line that curves around like that. And since I can combine shapes, maybe I throw in some circles that break into different parts. Maybe I color those in. All right. Now, in my tree here, I'm going to do some different line types. I'm going to go diagonal, but some of my diagonals I want to make thicker by turning my marker to the side. And then maybe I go back to a thin line and then another thin line. So maybe two thin lines and then a thick line. Now, if you don't have a marker to make that you can make a thick line with, then you can always make two lines side by side and then color them in. I'll show you what I mean by that. So I make two lines here and then I just color it in to make that line thick. So if you don't have a marker that you can turn to the side, that is a way to do it. Now, by using different color markers, you are eliminating having to color in everything because now you can just go in with your patterns and your designs to fill in your spaces. All right. Now, for me, I am trying to use the color that is associated with whatever I'm drawing. So, for example, the tree trunk would be what color? That's right, brown. So, I want to use some of that color when I am designing. Okay. Now, I'm going to design this tree with a series of brown spirals. And maybe these brown spirals build off of one another and they go into a pattern here. Again, you want to fill that space up so it looks like you're coloring the tree but with patterns. You can make them small, you can vary the size, make some larger. If you want to go in with a second color and maybe draw some lines in between them, maybe break up some of that space. Have fun with it. There is no right or wrong because you are designing. You are designing. So ask yourself, what am I going to put into that space? Okay. I'm also going to take my green and just outline my tree so I know where that line stops. And I'm going to outline the trunk of my tree so that I can see it just a little bit better. And then I want to keep making my spirals in there. Now, you want to keep this going until you have filled up your entire paper. Every section of your paper should have a different design. Don't make them all the same. You want variety. Variety means lots of different ways to do something or lots of different options. So you want variety. You do not want it to be the same. All right. And then I'm just going to keep playing around with my different tones. Since I've done the orange in between, I'm just going to keep going in my spirals and creating different designs until I have filled up my landscape. I want to keep doing that everywhere on my paper. Every part of my paper needs to have a different pattern, a different design. You don't want to color things in. You want to use lines and shapes to create these patterns. I'm going to mix in some yellow. Actually, I think I will color in this space only because it's going to create lines as I do. Color around that tree. Don't color that tree in because you don't want that tree to look like it's being covered up. You want it to be, you want to bring it forward in the foreground. Okay. So again, I have my lines there. Down here, I may decide I want to do a series of wavy lines. Maybe I have two wavy lines here, and then maybe I color them in just in that inside part just to make it a thicker line. Again, I am going fast because you are creating your own patterns. You're not necessarily copying me. You're just looking at what I'm doing to get inspiration for what you want to do. So you shouldn't be copying my landscape exactly. You should be trying to think of your landscape. And I actually changed my mind about the color of dots I want. I think I want to add some purple dots in between instead of green, just to give it a little bit more contrast. And again, I'm going to outline that hill just to make sure that it's nice and visible. Okay. Maybe even outlining the green itself. So that way it kind of stands out just a little bit more. Now, this section down here should not match that section because you want them to appear to be different. So it can be similar in color, but you want it to be different in design. What type of designs am I going to do down here? I think I'm going to go with thick lines going in one direction diagonally. And then I think I'm going to cross over them the opposite way with a second color. Again, going diagonal to make a striped pattern. And then I may decide that I want to go in and do some pink dots in each section. All right. And then I may decide that I just want to outline that grass. Okay. So I'm just continuing on with my designs. And maybe in here, I can do some, maybe I can do a railroad track pattern. Again, slow and deliberate. Make your patterns very nice and deliberate. Okay. So as you can see, I'm really starting to fill in that space. Really starting to fill in my landscape. I'm going to outline this with a black just so that it stands out a little bit more and I can see it very clearly that that's a different space. All right. And from there, you just continue to fill your landscape up with lines. Make it as colorful as you wish. Make it as vibrant as you wish. But most importantly, I want you to fill your space. Don't leave any space unfilled because you want to have a lot going on in your design. Okay. I think I'm gonna add a third color into my tree just to offer a little bit more variety into my design. And the more lines that I create into my tree, the more full my tree will look. Okay. And so I keep going. I keep making my designs and my patterns. I wanted this water to look like it was wavy. Maybe I just follow this wavy line. And this is like a little stream coming down the hill. All right. Maybe I outline this little part there to be my stream. So I cannot wait to see what you guys create. All of the wonderful lines that you create inside your landscape. Getting that landscape nice and filled with patterns. All right. Well, there you have it. There is one part of a landscape complete. If you're doing the beach, you would fill that in. Maybe you're filling it in with some sand. So maybe I can do various patterns on my sand. Maybe I'll take a second color just to give it some, you guessed it, contrast. So I can see the yellow. The yellow will pop up against that orange because orange is slightly darker. And I can keep that pattern going across my sand area. And this down here will be water, so you can come up with a way to do your water. All right. So there's your landscape designs. You could do this one the same way so that it ends up being more like this one. Well, I cannot wait to see what you guys create and how your landscapes turn out. Happy creating, and I look forward to seeing your designs.